Namaste students, welcome back to Political Science. We were reading about the public administration. Let us continue with the public administration. In the last class we had seen what is the meaning of public administration, and Woodrow Wilson was the father of public administration, and we also saw the definitions, the importance of studying the public administration and its scope. Now let us move on to the next chapter, next topic, that is POSD and CORB perspectives. What it is? Let us see. POSD CORB is an acronym widely used in the field of management and public administration that reflects the classical view of organizational theory children. It appeared most promptly in a 1937 paper by Luther Gulick. He first presented the concept in 1935. Initially, POSD post-corb was envisionized in an effort to develop public service professionals. In Gulick's own word, the elements are as follows. P stands for planning, O stands for organization, S stands for staffing, D stands for directing, CO stands for coordination, R stands for reporting, and B stands for budgeting. So, in this P, the notes on the theory of organization, a memo prepared while he was a member of the Brownlow Committee. Luther Gulick was asks rhetorically, what is the work for the chief executive? What does he do? So the post corb is the answer, designed to call the attention to the various functional elements of the work as a chief executive, because administration and management have lost all the specific content of all content. Now let us know what is the strength of this post corb. Post corb generally fits into the classical management movement, being classified as an element of scientific management. Gulick, this principle were instrumental in highlighting the theory of span of control, or limits on the number of the people one manager could supervise, as well as the unity of the command to the fields of management and public administrations. Beside the post crops, strength also calls the 14 principles of management. Now let us move one by one. What do we mean by planning? What do we mean by planning? Planning an agenda that the government machinery to implement by working on the methods of the implementation. And when we move on to the organization forming various departments and structures like division, subdivision, and other administrative structures, and entrusting the roles and responsibilities for each for the achievement of the desired goal. Then S is for staffing. When staffing comes, recruiting and training the needed staff. It also includes the framing rules and regulation of civil services. Then we are having D stands for direction. It provides the directions and orders to the various departments. Then we are having CO, that is the coordination, facilitating better interaction between the various departments by resolving the conflicts by converging their functions. Then we are having reporting. When we tell report for reporting by the officials of the senior officers on the functions of various sub departments, submitting the reports to the legislature by conducting the research and documentation and investigation. Then B is for budgeting, managing the financial planning, expenses, and the income calculation and auditing. So, the scope of public administration is increasing nowadays. This does both the protective and the regulative functions, children. The growth of civil society further expands the scope of public administration. The aspirations and desires of the people have further enlarged the scope of public administration. Next, we will move on to the recruitment and training. So, now we have to know, what do we mean by the word recruitment? According to Edwin B. Flippo, recruitment is the process of searching the candidates for the employment and stimulating them to apply for jobs in the organization. So the meaning is, it is the activity that links the employers and the job seekers. It is a process of finding the attracting capable of applicants for employment. So, the process of searching the eligible candidate for civil services and motivating them to compete for the civil services, we call that as an recruitment. An efficient administration is based on the efficient recruitment process. It is if an efficient, honest, and eligible person is selected to civil services, the person delivers good public service through his creativity, intelligence, and positive behavior. If the recruitment process is more scientific and efficient, public administration becomes efficient by having efficient civil servants. So, according to O.G. Stahl, recruitment is the base of the staff structure. Now, we will move on to the methods of recruitment. We are having two. One is the internal method and another one is the external method. Internal method and the external method. So, in the internal method is the recruitment by promotion within the job itself, and external method is a direct recruitment. Now let us see just the gist. It is a job posting. Internal methods as the job posting, skill inventories, referrals, transfer and promotion. Whereas external methods using headhunter, cross-national advertising and e-recruiting. Now let us move on to the direct recruitment. So what do we mean by direct recruitment? Can you tell children, when we tell what do we mean by direct recruitment? Is a service that incorporates the selection and enrollment of highly qualified personnel. Usually, the direct recruitment is used for launching new projects where the responsibilities and professionalism of employees had to meet in a certain high level. So, it is the most popular and scientific method of recruitment. Recruiting the eligible candidates through competitive examinations is in a fixed pattern is called as the direct recruitment. So the candidates here, they should have the general qualification and also a specific qualification to enter into the direct recruitment. Then we will move on to what do we mean by internal recruitment. What do we mean by internal? Internal means inside. So internal recruitment means and it is the process of filling up process of filling vacancies within a business from its existing workforce. So this is unlike the external recruiting. When a business look to fill the vacancies from outside, in a year where the recruitment landscape have looked for different, internal recruiting can be a great way to fill the roles fast. Companies today use internal recruitment to fill the roles in their business that are the best suited to have insiders' view or knowledge, as well as encourage the loyalty and a sense of progress of employees. Internal recruiting is an important aspect of any business as it can save time, money, and resources when compared to recruiting externally children. So, this selection of the candidates is in service where the higher post is given, and most of the countries have adopted this method. Even in India also we have adopted this. So, there are also the types of recruitments when we go. There are promotions where the most widely used form of internal recruiting is one everybody hopes for a protection. Transfers, that is a transfer typically entails moving to the same job to a different location or a similar level job in a different department. Temporary or permanent, similar to the promotion, this involves making a temporary position. Employee referrals, hiring a manager's dream, and an often overlooked type of internal recruiting. Employees referrals are a great a cost effective way to get qualified candidates in front of hiring the managers. Having a system in place to encourage and gamify the employee referral process process will help to ensure you see a constant stream of employee referred candidates. So the advantages of this is reducing the training cost, boost the employer's morale, reduce the job positioning and screening cost, decrease employees turnover. So these are all some of the advantages what we are having. Now children, we will move on to the next topic, that is training. So what do we mean by the word training? So training is a process by which the efforts is made to increase the knowledge and skill of the employers for the successful accomplishment of a specific job. So training is the act of increasing the knowledge and skill of an employer for doing a particular job. So it is the organized procedure by which the people learn knowledge and skill for a definite purpose. So we are having different types of training which is being based on the method, duration, level of training, aim of training, and the institution providing the training. The first one is the formal and informal training, pre-service and post-beginning of service training, short-term and long-term training, departmental and central institute training, skill training, and backward training. Now we will move on to the formal and informal training. Formal training, children, is a training which employee receives which is carefully planned in advance, and this training is given under the supervision of the experts. When we move on to the informal training, it means that the training that an employee gains while doing his duty. An employee receives the training during his day-to-day execution of his duties. That we call as informal training. Next, we will move on to the pre-service and the post-beginning service training. Pre-service training means where the future employees for the civil services gets the training, and post beginning of service training is provided those who have been selected to the specific post. This training aims at giving good, better, imparting the better skills and efficiency. Then we have a short term and long term training. When we tell short term training, it is for 4 to 6 weeks duration. It might be the doctors who have been selected for the public service commissions undergo 6 weeks training. The long term training, when we tell, it is a continuous in nature and its duration is for 1 or 2 years. The training given to the candidates who are selected for All India service is the best example for this long term training, children. Then we are having the departmental and central institute training. So the training that is provided by specific departments for the candidates selected for it is called as a departmental training. Example, it might be the police personnel training, and the training that is provided by the central government institution is called as central institute training. The training which is provided by Lal Bahadur Shastri National Administrative Institute in Missouri is the best example for this. So the training provided by both is being provided by the is being provided here. Then we are having the last, the skill training and the backward training. A training that aims at increasing the skills of the personnel is called a skill training. For example, when for high school teachers, it is compulsory that they have to do the B.Ed. So that is the skill training. And the background training is that aims at providing general awareness. A training is given where the main aim is of the general awareness. We call that as a backward training. Example, training provided by Mysoru's Administrative Training Institute. So this is about the types of training what we are having. So in the next class, children, we will move on to the Union Public Service Commission and Karnataka Public Service Commission in the next class. Thank you, children.